hezké odpoledne, dobrý den. Vítejte na diskusi, která nese za hlavní název Green Deal Global Discussion, and this is the moment when I change into English language. I am very happy that we have such a great audience here, but the most importantly, I should first say who I am. My name is Ladislav Miko. I am basically zoologist, soil zoologist and ecologist, but in this particular moment I'm here in the role of president of the festival EKOFILM, where I work, I think, in this role for 11 years already. And I'm very happy that we could discuss the issue of global deal with my great panel and guests, Julia Leventon from Czech Globe. Julia is environmental scientist. Welcome, Julia. Julia is a colleague who is someone who is working in Czech Republic, but is international scientist, right? And originally from Canada, right? Britain. Oh, sorry. A little bit closer. Then we have Žaneta Stasiskiene, okay, Director of Institute of Environmental Engineering from Lithuania. Welcome. And we also have a domestic guest, which is Professor Lubor Lacina, environmental economist from Faculty of Business and Administration from the local Mendelu University. Welcome. Okay, yeah, I hope I can now sit here. And the title of discussion is Green Deal Global Discussion. And before I go into any detail, I will ask the question. The Czech Republic is known in last several months by many discussions, which are discussions about this basically name Green Deal. There is not much of discussion of the content, rather split of society saying we are against or we are for. If you go further to this discussion, you very soon find out that most of people which are against or for don't know why and what is the content. So my question is why you think we are in that situation, and as much as you can say, for example, in Lithuania or in Britain, is it similar or is it different outside of our space here in Central Europe? And let's start maybe with Lithuania.
Hello. First of all, I would like to express my big gratitude that I am here and I'm invited by this Eco Festival. So this is my third time at this university, so really see that this development and sustainability issues, it's so nice. Then coming to the question I got, so we have a similar situation in Lithuania. So it's not like something different in Czech Republic and Lithuania. And as far as I know, because I have a possibility to travel a lot between Europe and worldwide. I think in many countries we have a similar situation, and the reason is we need a clear explanation what is Green Deal in reality, how we can implement it. So it's a lack of education in different levels. So we have governmental education. It's crucial, especially when it's changes in governments, because after some time, and it's not new government, yes, they are getting optimist or getting pessimist in some way. So we definitely need explanations for them. Of course, another very important part is industry. And we as a universities, we have to ensure that people who will be the part of industry definitely know what Green Deal is, not in a theoretical way, but in a practical as well. So how to implement it, how to feel it.
They are regulated communities, so they should feel it, basically.
Yes, but we have different community leaders from time to time. And of course, the lay people, society, they should feel that sustainability still has its value. It's not like a theoretical part, but its value in practical things. And it's like, we are maybe measuring the index of sustainability, but that's another very important part. It's an index of happiness. How happy people are in sustainability. So if they are happy, so sustainability is efficient.
Yeah, I had some exchange of letters with a Minister of Environment of Bhutan, and they have index of happiness. Interesting is that one of the kind of characteristics of that was that if you send a question, you get an answer, but after 11 months. Because they are quite happy to answer us late.
Yes, but I had a possibility to meet Prime Minister of Bhutan. He is an amazing person, yes. And when it comes to sustainability, he's very well educated and informed. Maybe administration is keeping quite different standards for the answering to the questions.
Okay. Julia, if you can, I don't know how much you are able to follow in detail or at least superficially the situation outside of where you are working now, but still, Britain exited the European Union. One of the reasons was they didn't want to be regulated from Brussels and wanted to be regulated by themselves. So how it is with Green Deal in UK?
So, yeah, sadly, we're not in the EU anymore, in the UK. I have many opinions about that.
My son is living there, so I heard something about that.
Yeah. And, I mean, it continues to have far-reaching consequences for Brits in Europe and Europeans in Britain, which I think we'll be grappling with for a long time. Honestly, actually, building on the answer of Janet, I think some of the reasons of leaving the EU for Britain were, yes, a perception that we didn't want the EU to be setting regulations, but actually that was a big misunderstanding a lot of the time about the role that the EU actually has. Britain had a veto in the EU. There was very little that the EU could dictate to the UK at the time that the UK was leaving. And there was a lot of misinformation around questions of immigration, for example. And we're actually fairly certain that a lot of people who voted for Brexit were voting for tighter immigration controls, despite the fact that Britain could have done that while staying within the EU. So there's an awful lot of misinformation out there about the role of the EU and what the EU does. And I think that the reason I'm talking about that is that I think it's also important in the context of the Green Deal, because there's a lot of misinformation across countries generally around what the EU can actually dictate. The EU isn't some kind of separate body. We vote people to sit on the Parliament of the EU. Yes, they are more remote in terms of democratic processes, but you can be involved in that. And members of national governments sit on things like the European Council and make decisions about what those policies are. And so the EU is the sum of its member states. And so actually the EU is acting in the interests of those member states, because I'm not saying it's perfect, I'm really not, and there is a democratic deficit there, but this perception of distance, I think, is sometimes overinflated. And I think that's really important, because some of the reasons that there's feelings against things like the Green Deal, yeah, some of it's this feeling of, the environment, we've got to deal with a cost of living crisis and high cost of food, high cost of energy, environment comes later. But some of it is also a feeling of, but that's being imposed on us. That's taking away our sovereignty. How dare you tell me not to drive my car anymore? And that's not actually what the EU does or how decisions are made.
Which I believe is truth, but the problem is the majority of citizenship has that view. Just very shortly, when you described the perception of Europe now, not only Green Deal in UK before and after Brexit, you are living now in Brno, in Czech Republic. Is it similar or is it different, what the people say here about the Europe, what you hear around?
Ooh, so I'll actually...
Oh, because I heard we are the second ones, you know, after Brexit, the Czechsit came as an option and was discussed here. And let's say, I don't know now, my God, how to say in English, the Czechs are very well known historical querulants. So there is a possibility that they would simply by principle say, okay, let's be the second ones. If British could do it, we can as well.
Yeah, and I do hear things in media or when certain people are speaking publicly that I think, oh no, I've heard that before, and I heard that 10 years ago, and look where that in the UK, and look where that led us to. But I think one of the differences is that I think Britain has a bit of a superiority complex and is used to seeing itself as an economic leader in the world and as a global power.
Are you saying that here it is another complex?
I'm saying that the British complex is maybe not right.
It's a different one, okay.
And yes, it's different.
Yeah, okay. Okay, thank you, Julia. Professor Lacina, you are environmental economist, and I mean, coming now to Green Deal discussion, where do you see the reasons for the fact that it is mostly discussed on just economic or financial impacts on individuals, businesses, groups now? Why the discussion about now versus future and why we are doing things which are maybe costly but may save significant cost in the future is not part of debate in the public space in Czech Republic, for example?
Because individuals, and that's human history, are not willing to think about future. They think mostly about today, probably tomorrow. For most of the individuals, it's very difficult to think what will happen in the future. Look at one example, and we can repeat this example through the whole human history. Do you think that the Stone Age finished because of lack of stones?
Probably not.
Not enough stones, but they found something more efficient. Or if you take example of green revolution in agriculture, yes. A lot of people lost jobs in agriculture. They had to move to the cities, to the industries, and I think people right now, that's combination of two, that they are not willing to think about long future, something what will happen in 1 year, 2 years, 10 years. And second, that they are afraid that this change will negatively affect their current status quo.
Yeah, but I'm sorry, I have a feeling like if I look back into history and looking in a family structure, I mean, the fathers and grandfathers were thinking about leaving the house and the piece of soil or whatever to their children in order to make sure that their family can survive for longer time. So it's a natural feeling of humankind to think about the future. How come that it is lost in this macroeconomic space? It's a sociological question, so sorry. I mean, I know you are economist, but I mean, I'm asking myself. I mean, where we lost this ability to think about that. It is actually my son and my grandson who will have a serious problem if I will be just like doing nothing now.
I think that's the process which was connected to industrial revolution. People were moving from rural areas to the cities.
Disconnection.
And disconnection with the nature. That's my explanation. Simple one.
Janet, I want to ask particularly on the situation. I mean, for us, in many aspects, Baltic states are used like, look, this is also, you know, former part of the socialist side of the Iron Curtain, but they are so modern and going so fast forward. And look on them, how it is possible that we were always like in forefront, Czech Republic #1, and we are losing, and the Baltics are going fast forward. Do you have this feeling that Baltic states in European, let's say, from the moment when they enter to Europe, really speed up to modernity? And is there, let's say, more preparedness to think for the future, which I mentioned?
Thank you for the question.
Difficult questions.
No, it's okay. It's okay. In fact, I'm really proud that I'm representative of the Baltic Republic because, as I remember from my childhood, we always all other republics we are saying that we are from West.
Okay.
So we are different in a way because our thinking was different. We have our own language very clearly defined, and our culture. We were so small in comparison with the others. So to show our identity was the kind of showing that we are alive, we are different, we are not part of the Russia, and we are like Lithuania, Latvia, and Estonia. So for us, it was always a fight. And not only fight like with guns. Yes, we have a systematical point of view. Education, culture, sport. It's always, especially basketball for Lithuania. We always wear. Then we won against the Russian Army Club championship. It was like kind of celebration for a week. So
we know that from ice hockey in Czech Republic.
So in that case, it was kind of fight, and then we were so happy to escape. So we have to show that we are able to survive. Because we are many in discussion that we weren't able to escape, to survive without this. So showing and being together, because to be separate three Baltic countries, it's quite a big challenge. So now we have kind of Baltics and trying to cooperate. When it comes to sustainability and development and Green Deal, of course, we have a different speeds. And I should say, that Estonians are most fast because they are smallest, maybe, so they have to concentrate.
You just have to convince 300,000 people.
So it's easier. And Lithuania, so we have a kind of maybe national habit to be the first somewhere. So if the EU is developing some regulation, some rules, so we are saying we will be the first to implement. So not everyone, especially from industry, are happy because they say, let's wait, let's see how it works in Poland, how it works in Czech Republic, in Germany, in France. Yes, so because they're big countries. But yes, we have a kind of not as always a good ambition to be the first ones and to experiment in our industry and society and so on. So, and that's kind of be brave. And yes, so sometimes it's really to wait a little bit and to learn from the best examples would be better for us, but so maybe sometime we will have this kind of thing.
Is it about taking risk, or is it about, like, don't take risk, just wait, look around how it goes, and if it goes well, we join?
Some of our industries would prefer the last one. And I don't know why, but our parliament and government thinks differently, maybe not in 100%. but sometimes they would like to show that they are so supporting the EU decisions. So that's not always thinking about what is happening inside the country, but to show how they are supporting the EU strategies. And so I'm sometimes joking when we have like a family, yes, and you have some families that support their kids, their brothers and sisters, and the other families they think how I'm looking from outside. So, in some way, the Lviv is the second one.
Show up.
Show up.
Yeah,
Yes.
okay. Julia, you are a scientist dealing with, I mean, we met, I have to say, we met in the IBES meetings. You were one of the important authors, and I was always thinking afterwards, hearing the political discussions about the Green Deal, what is a feeling of a scientist if you hear, you know, the political debates which are just not discussing but negating scientific advice? How you see that? Why it is happening? Why the people don't believe you?
I mean, I wish I knew the answer to that because then I could find the solution.
Yeah, but you may have some views on that.
Yes. So, yes. And I actually think, I mean, I've been working in sustainability for a long time now, and I think it's only just really in the last sort of 10 years or so that we've started to feel like actually there are people listening now. We saw things like the upswelling of Fridays for Future, and that really gave some sort of much needed encouragement that actually there are some people out there who are hearing what science is saying and seeing that action needs to happen. I also personally find it really important to be involved in these sort of science policy platforms like IPBES, the Intergovernmental Panel for Biodiversity and Ecosystem Services, where we first met, because that's then a platform for putting the science forward for policymakers. Although, yeah, whether or not they listen to that and act on it is questionable. And oftentimes they've asked for the assessment to happen. They want to know the knowledge that's in things like IPCC or IPBES, but then we don't really see it being taken on much further beyond the writing of the report. But I also think that it's an interesting question to think about what should the role of scientists be in that policy-making process. And I think that we should be a voice that puts knowledge forwards into democratic decision-making. And I think that requires people and decision makers who are extremely well educated, able to think critically. So not just about the content, but have critical thinking skills to be able to engage in that science, discuss it, and discuss with people and make democratic decisions. How we achieve that?
No, but I mean, really, I'm worried. I'm really sad to read some of the reactions. One of them, I mean, I count myself also to the scientific community. That should be said at the start. So I am not neutral in it. But if I read in reaction of people which are critical to whatever is proposed in Green Deal or similar policies, and you argue like, look on the science. Scientists are saying that. It is pretty sure that we have this and this and this, quite clear statements. And there is a broad consensus and agreement. And the reaction is, oh, yes, of course, there is clear that scientists are saying that because they are getting grants and money to say so. So, I mean, how to answer this kind of reaction?
Yeah, I mean, I wonder if people who have that reaction should come and follow me around for a week and see what the reality of scientific life is, because it's not a life of luxury of getting these scientific grants, I can assure you.
Oh, I know that.
But I think actually it's not even just a question of science, it's a question of media and discommunication, miscommunication, false information that's out there, because actually we know that pretty much 100% of scientists will say, yeah, climate change is human caused, it is happening, possibly even our best case scenarios are too conservative. There's just huge scientific consensus out there, but the noise that is given to the one person in 200,000 who maybe casts a little bit of doubt on something, that's the thing that's blown up and that's communicated. And I think that we need to, or media have a responsibility to be thinking about how they're communicating these issues and what they're sensationalizing, what they're picking up. But I also think that as a society, we've got to be raising kids that have critical thinking skills and are able to question what they're hearing. And that's getting harder and harder to do in a world of AI and fake videos that are, and fake photos that are out there. And I mean, I don't even feel like I have the skills to engage with that world of AI right now. And that's pretty concerning, I think, for our understanding as a society.
Yeah. Okay. Professor Lacina, another question. I was trying some time ago, I had some efforts in direction to environmental economy. One of the main slogans of that efforts, that was when I was in European Commission, was to make environmental economy the part of the economical mainstream. You are environmental economist. Are you feeling to be part of economical mainstream? And if yes, by which let's say feeling or character you feel so, and if not, why not yet?
Yes, and it was proved by Nobel Prize winners in economics a few days ago.
Exactly.
If you did look, those 3 economists who received the Nobel Prize in economics this year, they received it that they were explaining how technologies are influencing in the positive way the economic growth. And that's exactly, if I use argumentation of Julia, what I'm missing in a discussion, because people are afraid that they will be losing jobs, car industry. But if you look to the history, always the nation was on the good side of the economic history if they came with new technologies which replaced the old technologies like Britain during the Industrial Revolution. So my argument is always Green Deal, it's connected with the new technologies, and it will be always advantage if you become sooner or later exporter of those technologies to the rest of the world, because then you can keep your position which we had as in Europe since the Industrial Revolution. So from an economic point of view, that's opportunity.
Absolutely, I feel it in the same way, but what is then behind the resistance of society against that? I mean, I had sometimes a feeling that it is something like a self-supporting prophecy, like we say, okay, nobody is interested in EV, cars, this is useless, we don't have infrastructure, it is very expensive, etc., etc. So we are not going to invest into that. And then in the meantime, like, in China or Mr. Musk is not putting these questions, and they're just producing, and they are coming on our market, and suddenly the cars are not so expensive, quite okay. The people are just demanding them, but we are afraid economically, because actually we are going down now to pay the technology development and also the real economic cost to China and US, instead of something what could have been here, but we were just like fighting against it, and now we are behind the train. So, I mean, how this could happen? I was always thinking that the industries have a kind of quite clear vision of the future, of the opportunities. They have business plans. They think forward. Why our automotive in Europe didn't think forward?
I think one way how we can explain is that we here in Europe are used to tell why to change something which from our point of view is working for something which is unsure in the future. And second, that's pure economic reason. We missed in last 30 years the opportunity to replace the traditional system how we finance innovations here in Europe, banking system to capital market system. There are 30 years discussion that we should create a capital market on the European level, and from my point of view there was no move forward, and you cannot finance innovations asking banking officers who are very conservative to finance something which they have no idea if it will work in the future. So see, that's from my point of view a lot of economic connections with environmental economics to traditional mainstream economics.
Yeah, but I mean, I still cannot just like help myself to see that situation like we have been sleeping and waiting for something, I don't know what, and we are still sleeping, and when the consequences are coming, we say it's not our fault, but the others' fault. It's fault of Green Deal or it's fault of whatever, but not us.
Then you have to come, from my point of view, to individual level. My memories from late 80s that the only like official protest against communist regime was those in North Bohemia because of environmental pollution. And I didn't hear in the discussion that politicians say that's not just exchanging one technology for other, but if we do this, you as individuals will get significantly better environmental conditions, and that's probably another thing which I think I'm missing kind of arguments with individuals should hear and understand.
Janeta, I wanted to ask actually if the situation again in your part of the Europe and world is similar. Like I mean, I have been today. This is my third discussion, and in all discussions it came. So I bring it here as well. That actually the people, the society is ready to move, to accept, the new policies, something like Green Deal, in the moment when there is a really big problem. Like if you are standing, until your knees in the water, your house is falling down because of wind, you don't have drinking water in your wells, then the people suddenly start to understand that there is an environmental problem and they support politicians to do something. In the moment when you address these big problems which are visible and tangible, suddenly there is a feeling all is okay and now let's enjoy. Is that same in Lithuania?
Yes, I should say yes, and it's a big
because then I was asking the question, sorry to interrupt, so are we really now waiting for the situation where you would say politically the worse the better?
In a way, yes, I should say, and I was also following the discussion you have with Julia and Professor. When it comes, we have so nice examples. The Nobel Prize for economists related to sustainability, I don't know, it's like a buffet, Nobel Prize to this part. And somehow it's still not example to follow. Yes, we still have to convince, but it's good, but it should be followed, and we should be happy that it's so evaluated on high level. but we still have to work on this. Then it comes to the parliaments, yes, to the governments. So we have like 141 in Lithuanian parliament. So I really doubt how many of them know about the real causes of the environmental problems. They have these advisors, they are representing the groups which are like a lobbying, yes, representative of different industries, and they say then Green Deal is bad because somebody from the industry said that it's really hard to implement and so on and so on. So I had many discussions with governmental representative or parliament representatives, and then I asking the questions: do they know reasons? Do they know the real situation? And from where? So definitely from not their own experiences, somebody told. So in this case, we do not have a real picture. And I see that here is really a problem. And in universities really had an opportunity to change the situation because, for example, at my university, we have the obligatory sustainability course for all students. For all undergraduate students, they know the sustainability, what it is, how it works, and it's not only for narrow path, but all students, all the second year and the graduates or third, they are getting this understanding on sustainability. And many universities in Lithuania, we are also trying to introduce this, the real examples, because also many people, as you said, they are saying that, okay, sustainability, it's a problem because we have to change something in our lives. And we are so inertic in a way. And then it comes to, we were talking about artificial intelligence, about the changes, yes. So it's good. We, as you said, we are sitting, we are getting salaries, probably we'll get next year or maybe a year. But industrial revolution is coming. And if the first revolution and the second, it was 100 year, the third, the fourth is 100, but the fourth and the fifth, which is almost happening, it's like a 20 years difference only. Mm-hmm. So the changes are so fast, and maybe it's too fast, and people are not ready to adjust to this. So they are really worrying and so inertic that it will be something different. They have to change. They have to gain the new competences right now. Yes, and the professions we had like a normal 50 years ago, yes, now they are losing their importance, and we need the new ones, and they have to change. They have to change, re-educate, and so on. So for them, it's like an unsafety, and because of that, we are also getting many of resistance.
But then is it true that the young people, which don't remember this slow pace, and they just know these fast-going innovations, new things. 3 years back or forward is a totally different situation and even different generation.
Yes.
Do you see a kind of a hope in those young people which don't remember this, lazy times?
Truly speaking, when we are talking about Europe, I can say yes. Mm-hmm. And we have very nice examples. Recently I was talking with one of sustainability leaders. She was my student, and now she's the sustainability leader of the big international corporation. And they made a greenfield investment in Lithuania. They had this nuclear power plant they have to close to enter European Union, and this another interesting stories, the big companies. And they made this greenfield investment and built 3 new factories. And one factory is exceptional for Z generation. And the situation is amazingly different, because they have to present many interesting things in a different way, because the generation is Z. So they have this communication, arrangement of all things. So, and I think we have a hope. It works in reality. So.
Okay. Now I have a question for each of you. We can start again from this end, but I mean the question is simple. Just imagine there is a lot of people here, and I don't want to be negative, honestly, but I mean, just like that gives an opportunity to think about the issue. Just imagine that we have in Europe someone like Mr. Trump, who will come and say, okay, here is my signature from tomorrow on, there is no Green Deal. What do you think would happen in Europe if such situation comes true?
I like that you've asked me to imagine that in Europe we have someone like Donald Trump. Because I rather suspect that this is reality across quite a few countries in Europe at the moment. Yeah, okay, so someone signs off there's no Green Deal. I think actually one of the biggest impacts that this will have will be to our international reputation. I think that Europe has been seen as a climate leader in international negotiations in the past, particularly around, say, setting the Paris Agreement and the work that the EU put forward in setting examples, in showing what was possible, and in pushing for targets in that. And I think if the key flagship piece of policy or policy framework is then disintegrated, I think that removes a lot of legitimacy from Europe on the global stage. And I think that then has impacts for which other countries and how they act and what they do. Yeah.
And in factual situation, like what would really be further development? Or will we stop then with building of sustainable, energy sources, with electromobility, with circular economy, with all what is in the Green Deal? Do you think that this political declaration, stop it, would really stop it?
No, I actually don't. And there's two reasons for that. And one is that money can be made. And where money can be made, activities will be done. And so where there is an industry for electromobility, then people are buying electric cars, then that industry will survive. I think that where energy prices are going up and we have problems getting enough gas and coal and oil into the country, then yeah, we will be looking for alternatives, and things like solar and wind make sense, and so they will be done. Whether they will be done at the same speed up or slow down, I don't know. But they will persist because they're a logical idea.
I'm just
regardless.
exactly. I read after the two big initiatives of Mr. Trump. One was stopping the Green Deal, and the second one was drill, baby, drill. And actually, neither Green Deal activities were stopped in the United States, and there is no new drill, in the United States, despite of that. That's why I'm asking if that would be the situation in Europe as well.
Yeah, and I think one of the things about the US, for example, was the power of the states. And so the states could continue to innovate and push forwards, even in the lack of federal law. And I think, we can do that in Europe as well. Like if the EU decides to drop Green Deal, we can still push ahead, we can still innovate, we can still do stuff without the EU. We just don't have that supportive framework in place.
Mr. Latina, your view on is it sensible even thinking about something like saying we stop a Green Deal, and what you will see from your economic perspective if that happens?
That you have to distinguish between policy and economic activity, and that was Julia's first point. I have nice recent example. I have a friend from Austria. He's investor here in Europe to this new battery technologies, and he just came back a few weeks ago from United States when he had a meeting, and he take part at the conference of companies who are doing this research and business in this battery sector in United States, and he came totally impressed, and he said Europe lost the game, because he said doesn't matter ignore Trump official policy, If you look how United States market is perfectly functioning, transferring knowledge to business. That's what we are missing here in Europe. Doesn't matter what's the policy. So from my point of view, policy, official statements is one side of the story, but the business activities, and as Julia said, if business believe you can earn the money on this, you will.
Where is the problem in Europe then?
Capital market union. We miss risk capital who finance exactly this type of projects. Bank are conservative.
Yeah.
And probably one more comment to this question. There is something what I think we are missing in the long run in Europe is the individual belief that you can something change. That we believe that politicians have to move forward, and that's what I was surprised when my friend brought this experience from United States, that we are missing, from my point of view, more and more this kind of individual entrepreneurial activity. And probably one more comment, protectionism. Main Trump policy. If you look to the economic theory, and for example, this recent Nobelist winner, there is strong argument that at some point, if you like to support the innovations, new technologies, that it makes sense for certain time to protect that industry against competition, and it can fasten the technological development. So I'm not even afraid that some protectionism in this area is a big problem.
I will put the very populistic question, sorry for that, but I mean, it just comes to my mind when you said what is the reason that we are, as you said, lost or behind. Is it then true that the problem of competitiveness in Europe and the potential risk of businesses leaving Europe, going elsewhere, is because of a Green Deal? Is it because of too much of Europe, or it is because of too less of Europe?
From this point of view, less of Europe, because always if you like to come with new technologies, the advantage is if you can really put together the best brains in the area.
That's my very strong feeling, but it is not said openly in the debate. Janeta, your response to same question: if the Green Deal was politically abandoned.
So I was trying to imagine when you asked how we can survive without Green Deal, and also following the discussion. And in fact, I was ready to give a good example from bank. And then you said that bankers are so conservative. So, for example, in the recent discussion with industry and how we are getting support from different banks, I should say that Scandinavian banks, they have a little bit different maybe strategy. And if the industry has to, or it's look for the support from banks. So Scandinavian banks, we are looking very deeply in the impact to the climate change, to the risky areas, and so on. So if you are looking for a loan to build for the new factory or to new activities, so bank is evaluating the risk from the climate change point of view, from the other. So if you are building the factory on the coastal area, as we talked, and it will be like covered by water in 30 years, so definitely the bank will not give a loan to you. So this is very strict position, and I got this information from the industry, from an international industry, which we are looking for this kind of loans, and they are asking the Scandinavian banks, and they were asked to be evaluated in a way. The areas we are supposed to build something. So, of course, when we are talking from economical point of view, so there's a saying, when money speaks, everyone is silent. So this very important thing, how money is talking about sustainability, because I truly believe that we have many economists which are getting Nobel Prize from sustainability point of view, and they can introduce the economical benefit of the sustainability, yes, of the Green Deal, why we should implement Green Deal and gain the economical profit from the systematical point of view as well.
But does it really work politically? I mean, it's a very strange situation. For a very long time, I remember since 1980s, the environmental people were just like thinking, okay, we are unable to communicate because we are speaking Chinese to economists. So we have to adopt their economical language, and by that we will convince them about our case. Now we are doing that, and it's trying to do it, and it's not working, because the reaction is actually, oh, you are just like doing that because of your bloody benefit. You want to support your companies, your innovations, your industries against those which have been basically successful until now, which have a big margin, which are competitive. So basically, our own argument is getting against our case.
Yes and no, because I definitely met some good examples how you can explain in the language you are talking. You have to stand in the shoes of the person you are explaining. So if you are talking with politician, you are using one kind of vocabulary, then you're talking to industrial people is different. So of course, then try to talk the politician on the parliament. It's hardest way, as I said, because they have the persons who are advising on from different groups. But then I have still talk with many persons from municipalities on regional level, and then you try to explain what will happen to the region, what kind of profits, benefits the municipality will gain, and also talking with industry, from society, NGOs. So we have a very interesting exercise. It's like a co-creation.
Mm-hmm.
So we are gathering the people from different groups, yes, and they try to solve the problem. So of course we will be not one group which is 100% happy. But anyway, we are finding the consensus. We are learning the problems from different groups. So we try to find this kind of when we creating the roadmap.
And does it deliver? Does it work?
Yes, because we were developing under this methodology the roadmap to transform Lithuanian industry from linear to circular economy. And it was very interesting discussion. It took like a half a year, but we gathered like 500 people. Then we have co-groups from 50 and so on, so on. So then we presented the roadmap. It wasn't like a very against, I should say, because it was a process of a discussion. Everyone had a possibility to express his opinion and to present his expectations and so on. And what I would like to add when you asked about the Europe, so I think what we are lucky because of education. I made an analysis of the different programs we are teaching about the sustainability, Green Deal, circular economy. So almost, I do not know university which do not talk about this. So we are training people, I mean young generation, and make the understanding about this importance and impact, and how every person can act in this area. So it's like our responsibility, not like okay, I will wait, somebody will implement, and I will see. Yes. Mm-hmm. So, or because I am alone, I can do nothing. So now it's this kind of changing, and I'm really happy that even my son, is comes to supermarket and like, okay, is it like kind of additives, or how the package is like this, and how I'm sorting and how I'm choosing the different goods, and
Is that growing part of society? Like, I mean, I have been long time responsible for the food safety in European Commission, and it was a striking difference between the results of any enquete when you were asking about what is important for you when buying the food, then sustainability, you know, the plenty of great things, and then the real measurement about the behavior of people in the supermarkets, and it was like 95% price.
but you know, now what I had a discussion with students, not only in Lithuania, but also when they are going to different, you know, supermarkets, that even you can evaluate yourself how you are doing. Of course, maybe you are not going to very fancy, I mean, but when you're going to lower, I do not name maybe this kind of, but anyway, when you are looking for the product and you know the impact of the product to your health, you are maybe not taking the cheapest. So this was kind of thing. Of course, if you are thinking about your price, so you are not going to, I don't know, which kind of the most expensive
No.
here. But for example, we are going to the Lidl, yes, but they are choosing not the
It
most.
comes to the overall economic status. I mean, if you simply have not enough money for, you know, deciding whatever better, you just have to somehow survive. Obviously, then argument is clear. I wanted to just like link it to my experience when we were together in the IBES meeting. Scientists are preparing scientific advice to the policy, which is based on evidence, where the text of proposed conclusions go really sentence by sentence with the quotation of the scientific work, etc. And then there is a process of translation into the policy language. That's for you also, just to understand how it works. This panel meets together, scientists prepare the proposal, and then there is a meeting where representatives of governments are sitting in the room, and the discussion is going over the proposed document sentence by sentence, and whoever can raise whatever question or propose to change the sentence or the words. There is plenty of the playing with should, shall, and this kind of stuff. That's normal in diplomacy. But my question is, as an author, as a scientist sitting there, your feeling about the fact when you hear the politicians which are downgrading the meaning of sentences, a kind of dissolving the message, making a space for somehow escape from this advice. What is a feeling of the author scientists when this is happening, and how far it is reasonable to go and accept weakening of the text in order to get it at the end to the policy space?
Yeah, I mean, how that feels as a scientist, it was the most stressful experience of my life, is how it feels. Oh, wow. I almost have a trauma response when I think back to that particular meeting. It's extremely difficult, especially as you have worked many years going through a vast amount of evidence. In your free time, this is always stuff that you do on top of your normal workload to put together these kinds of reports. In my case, this was a report about societal transformations or transformative change for how we need to shift societies to create positive impacts to biodiversity, and therefore also to climate, because the two crises are interconnected. So it was really a labour of love, and to see that then be taken apart sentence by sentence, word by word in some cases, is extremely difficult. It's also an essential part of a democratic process, is to open that up to people who are representing the governments and are sitting there in the room. And often the words that they're asking to change are those that have implications to other policy areas. So the word conflict became very sensitive in that particular meeting. Some governments did not want to see reference to conflicts being damaging to biodiversity. But the one that personally sparked a big thought process for me was the word responsibility, because we'd spelt out in the report that some countries and some people, particularly wealthy countries and wealthy people, bear a disproportionately large responsibility for biodiversity loss and climate change. And the reason that this was pushed against was, one, that would have implications for a lot of countries and a lot of people, but also responsibility was not something that is measurable and legally enforceable. And so, and what role, the philosophical question that was put to us around this was, what role do scientists have to assign responsibility? That's a societal decision, not something that scientists can do. I still haven't figured out where I lie on agreeing with that kind of position yet. I go around in my head about it, but there's a reason that these words have so much scrutiny in them. But I think it comes down to then, as scientists, we're often being asked to comment on the physical process of global change. So, okay, what's driving carbon emissions? How much is the forestry sector contributing to that? And that's almost an acceptable position for scientists to occupy. And nobody challenges that. They might challenge the content, but they don't challenge the role of us there. But when it comes to making statements about how decision-making processes could look like in order to bring the environment more front and center, or in ways that we might choose, if we want to organize our society for collective good rather than individual material gain, then that's questioned. And even putting forward evidence, and this is factual evidence, that we are currently in the time of greatest inequality ever experienced in the world, and that's between countries and within every country in the world. We see the biggest wealth inequality, and that's driving a lot of global change processes. To even put that forward, because we're commenting on something that is a consequence of the way that we organise our policy systems and our economies, that's then pushed against, despite it being a legitimate area of science and knowledge and research.
Yeah, I mean, I mentioned that because that was my very deep frustration. When scientists will come with a very great set of evidence, which says basically something like, we should stop to use fossil fuels. And then there is this political debate, and the final formulation is that the states, under special circumstances, may consider to stop using fossil fuels, taking into account their past and future and impacts on their societies as appropriate. And then basically the sentence means almost nothing. And that's why I was asking, I mean, where is the limit where the scientists will say, okay, this is a sentence which I wrote.
And I mean, to some extent, we don't actually get to say that in that room, right? So there's a limit.
No, but you can stop. You can. I mean, what was the result in such situations was when the scientists, and this is good news, say, not totally good news, but good news, they don't accept that, and they say, in that case, just remove the whole sentence away, because we cannot sign that. So I think that's nice in the process, but obviously the text is then weaker. Yeah. Professor Lacina, I have a special question to you. If you hear Green Deal, do you see butterflies and birds? Because we speak about industry, business, economy. As an economist, do you see birds and butterflies under Green Deal?
Yes, sure, because agriculture is a significant part of the story, which was not mentioned yet. We just finished a few months ago a paper with our common friend Petr Bliškovský, when we try to combine the economic and political view on the sustainability. We incorporated the concept which we mentioned here, price, and the sensitivity of all agents in the vertical, in the agriculture sector to price. And we proposed the concept of private and public good. And the definition of public good in this paper was that farmers deliver some environmental services which are decreasing their production capacity, so they are losing the part of the revenues, and that they should be compensated either by higher market price, which they get for their production, or by subsidies which comes from public budgets, either the national or EU budget. And Petr came with a nice study which they did, and probably you will be familiar with that study, which they did in Germany back in 2018. They invited to the round table the farmers, food processing companies, consumers, and politicians, and they discussed how big amount of price consumers are willing to accept if they shorten the way the food is traveling around the Germany. And the consensus at that time was that the consumers are willing to accept 30% increase in the price. Sure, that's Germany, the wealthiest country in the EU. And then with Peter, we met like 10 biggest farmers here from South Moravia and Pardubický kraj, and we introduced them, and they said, 30% increase in prices, it will be revolution here. And if you look, 5 years, energy crisis, inflation period, and if you look to the Czech Statistical Office, the prices of food are 40% higher. And did you see any revolution?
No,
People
but it
in the
is
streets?
without the shortening of the, travel.
Yeah, but they were totally afraid that the increase of price will collapse the market and send the people to the streets. Prices increased, other reasons, and no problem. So price is very important.
Yeah, I agree, and I think everyone agree. I just want to signal we are coming closer to the end of our, for myself, great discussion. I'm just indicating if there is any interest, any question, just give me a signal. I give you a floor and you can ask your question. And if not, I have few questions still for the last 7 or 10 minutes of our debate. And one of questions again for all of you is, I'm just coming back to the bloody Green Deal. Because my strong feeling is that the core of that is not in the word green, but in the word deal. Deal is the way how to address the problem. Deal means that everyone who is involved will bring his, her views, worries, questions, whatever, put it together as you described. And then we all as a society agree on the way how we address the problem. and it will be someone who will be more happy and someone less happy, but it's a deal. It's something what when my grandchildren come and I say, okay, you will get this if you go sleep now, deal, and that's it. And the political battle against the Green Deal for me puts a question like, what is a viable alternative to deal approach? How we can address the problem without deal if the politicians say we stop the deal, we don't want a deal. So, okay, what is the I don't know, I mean, you can tell me if you see any other alternative.
It's not easy question, but for me, because my primary education is engineering, so I remember the first professor I met, he said, you have to have system thinking, systems approach. So I think in this way, then you have to think not about the Green Deal, because I'm still struggling, to convince somebody that sustainability is not equal environmental protection. That's crazy, but you still have to explain this, because many people and some, they are thinking that when we are talking about sustainability and Green Deal, we are talking about only environmental protection, the impact to environment, not impact to society, not impact to technological innovation, and so on. So it's still happening in different countries and so on. So maybe then they are saying that we have this systematical evaluation, systematical impact to our economy, to our society, to innovations, and to environment as well. So why I'm telling this, because we have very bad examples of the using the Green Deal money or financing, because some of players, I was thinking about to find the right word, they're just getting financing and that's it. We have many projects in Horizon 2020 which used money, and after the finalization of the project, we do not have anything except of the report. Now we have this different thing that we have to show the sustainability, continuation, business plan, and so on in Horizon Europe. So maybe it's more real. But I think that losing the right reputation, as you told already, it's important then to bring this reputation back, showing that it's not like using money, but also getting some results which are useful and important, not only for a small part of the person, but for society and especially for Europe. So from my understanding, this kind of system, because sometimes, when you are coming to this industrial association and say, okay, I will talk about sustainability. You say, oh, again, what? Sustainability again, so what does it mean? But then you try to talk about the impact, about the possibilities, about the future and the present, not like a changing this expression, like a Green Deal or sustainability, to another word, and you explaining how it's important in order to live for industry with critical materials, yes, and with energy prices, the energy sources, and many this city development from different points of view. So I think finding the right word, but not losing the meaning, that's crucial.
Okay, Professor Latina, your view? I mean, because what came to me as an alternative to deal is a dictate. One or another part will have to win and just dictate, because that's opposite of deal, right? Is there anything in between?
Actually, if the public policy and public money are not able to push it forward, what's the alternative from the economical view is more market. And we have another very nice theory which explains it, and that's Schumpeter creative destruction. Oh, yes. So my recommendation and my alternative is Schumpeter creative destruction, more market.
Okay. Thank you. Julia, how you see it as a scientist?
Am I allowed to completely disagree?
No, that's nice on discussions. I was just before we started giving an interview to Czech TV, and I was saying that I really like the atmosphere of EKOFILM and discussions, because it is not just discussions of people which agree with each other in every single point. So, great.
Okay. So, yeah, I actually think one of the core problems right now, one of the reasons that public goods cannot be delivered by the state, by the public authorities, is that actually the majority of wealth that is held by countries is held by private individuals and not by the state. And so the state does not have finance available to put in place infrastructure change at the moment. It's tied up by people who hold it for private gain. And I do not think that we're in a good place as a democracy if we have key decision making and key infrastructure given over to private individuals acting in their own interests. I would instead, I really liked your example of sort of negotiating with a child about bedtime as a deal. And because I think that that's pretty much where we're at the moment with the way that the Green Deal is framed, in that, okay, here's the decision, there you go, let's enact this. And that's, of course, resisted. Kids do not like being told what to do. I tell my children to go to bed, they'll go in the other direction. So that doesn't make sense. We've got to change track here. And what I do see from across my own work, from across the research I'm doing, is that when we look at the local level and we engage with communities, we see some really visionary changes happening and some really quite radical changes that people want to see happen in their communities around accessibility of services, access to public transport, good, healthy food available to them close by, good quality education. And we've really been engaging with communities to see, and we're seeing these visions that exceed some of the targets that are put in place through things like the Green Deal. So my response wouldn't be to hand it over to the markets or hand it over to people who we haven't collectively made a conscious decision to elect to make decisions for us, but it would be to extend democracy and extend the conversation in a way that I will never do with my children about bedtime. But I think that we should be having extended conversations with people. So things like citizens' juries and panels and discussions around what do we want to see, so that it no longer feels and is like there's decision making at the European level and then we're left to deal with it down at the local. Let's have a multi-level conversation and keep that going and engage with people.
Thank you very much. Once more, I'm just checking if there is any question in the room. If not, I will come with my last question, which is even more difficult than any before. In Czech Republic, we are now in the situation when we are after election and the new government is created and discussed. We are in the situation which you described, all of you, that there are certain communication problems with Green Deal as European policy set. If you were writing now the government program of country like Czech Republic, and you had to address with the situation as we described among the people, the resistance against something or they not even know what is in it, etc., etc. If you had to put into government program how to address the polycrisis of today, like climate, biodiversity, energy, what will be, I don't want, the exact sentence, but the essence of that. What would be, what you would put in the program in order to get people support for reasonable solutions?
I fully understand you because Lithuania is in a similar situation. They had our government for 8 months and then collapsed, and then we have a new one elected recently and still struggling with Ministry of Environment and Culture and other things. But when you were formulating your question, I remember then I very good memories It was the beginning of 2000, and it was a big conference related on sustainability in Helsinki. And it was amazing. Then the Prime Minister of Finland was talking about sustainability. And I was checking, I don't know how many, 3 times, 5 times. Is it a real Prime Minister talking? He was professional. He has a systematical understanding about the correlation, how all the ministries have to collaborate and to implement sustainability in a way. So from my understanding, to have this good governance and implementation, so main responsibility in government should go not to Ministry to Environment, not Ministry to Energy, but to Prime Minister. Because sustainability depends on finances, on energy, on transportation, on economics, and all the ministries you have. So the main key person responsible for Green Deal should be Prime Minister.
Okay. We all know what was the position and reactions of potential Prime Minister of Czech Republic to that, but okay. Mr. Lacina.
Okay, my recommendation would be to say if we right now jump on the good wave, that we can bring the new jobs, technology jobs, which will make Czech Republic the technological leader in this area with green technologies. And second, I would like play the game with the individuals and tell them that it will bring better quality of life if we have a better environment for them, their kids, grandchildren.
Thank you. And Julia.
Massive public investment in. Yeah. Do I have to be realistic? Was that part of it?
I was asking for something what you believe would work.
Okay, so yeah, massive investment in public services. So mobility options that do not rely. This is never going to go down in the Czech Republic, but massive public transport that does not rely on individual car
We somehow always say that we have that almost best in the world.
Yes, in cities, absolutely. But like, I live in a village and there is no bus service to my village. There is a train and a bus that goes to the next village along, but they leave within 2 minutes of each other once every 2 hours. Like, how is this sensible? And part of it is that they're owned by separate private companies that don't talk to each other. So I think just if we were already able to provide people with a good quality of life, not like a rich, wealthy lifestyle, but a good enough quality of life that people already feel like, okay, so now it also does make sense. Like, we can see that, yes, we've got our basic needs met. We can also think about the environment. It doesn't feel like something's distracting from our needs. This is all part of the same conversation.
Thank you very much. I think that was a very nice summarization of our debate, which I really greatly enjoyed. And I hope you did as well. And let me to thank you for being with us all the time, and to thank my guests, Julia Leventon, Professor Lubor Lacina, and Janeta Stasiskiene. Thank you very much, and have a nice evening.